What's good, y'all? So, I didn't really think I'd touch on another anime this season, but I've been keeping an eye out on another one waiting for it to start, and finally, the Apothecary Diaries is here. I've always been a bit interested in this series just because the promotional art they used was absolutely gorgeous, and gorgeous it is. The scenery, to the clothing, to the characters, are filled with such a vibrant color and detail that make everything pop. They really immerse you in the culture of feudal not China. I mean, look at this man. Look at those eyes. You could tell they just spent some extra time animating him. And besides that, the setup for this anime I read online really made it sound so interesting, like it would be this super serious political kind of show. But right now, I'm only 6 episodes in, and that can't be farther from the truth. Like, in the first episode, she gets kidnapped and sold into slavery. You know, I'm expecting her to be all like,
I'm fighting for my life.
but really, she's like,
I'll allow it.
obviously, there ain't much she can do about it, but it really caught me off guard with how nonchalant she was about the whole thing. But it really just goes to show what kind of main character you're dealing with right off the bat. Mao Mao is very pragmatic and level-headed, which comes in handy when dealing with the politics of the inner palace, as well as problems that could very well get someone killed if not handled properly. You know, similar to something like Dr. Stone, it's cool watching someone be an expert in their field and use that knowledge to identify and deal with situations. But honestly, it's that matter-of-fact attitude that can immerse the viewer and break that lighthearted nature when she's able to mention casually experiences that you would expect to elicit negative reactions. It's a great way to remind people that situations like hers were and are still very common in some cases. But even with her more stoic nature, she was torn up at the chance of making drugs that would put Walter White to shame. I mean, she do not play. Like, this girl out here making faces you would see in Food Wars whenever she eats poison. And she be standing on business, too. She quick to smack a lady and waiting if you disrespect what those drugs can do. The apothecary business ain't no joke, y'all. But for me, so far, the only slight drawback is that the anime is kind of episodic at this point. It's still super entertaining, and obviously, they're most likely just doing it to introduce characters and lay the foundations for motivations, and really, go in depth of how the culture works. But honestly, it gives them that time to flesh out and quickly tell minor stories that might be just as compelling as whatever the main plot is going to become. Like, they find the time to put in such a touching romance plotline. Having her purposely losing favor with the Emperor so he wouldn't want her anymore, and gaming the system with their friends so she could no longer be forced to be a concubine and be with her true love is such a satisfying story that's better than a majority of the romance you get nowadays. And I know I was kind of disregarding it earlier, but even with its episodic format, there's still political undertones at play. As it is now, the top concubines are all vying to become the emperor's favorite, but it's not really just to become the empress of their nation. Every concubine is actually the princess of their domain they're from, and depending on how much the emperor likes them, dictates how much more relief and assistance those areas get. And that's pretty much how Mao Mao gets brought into the fold, to give an advantage to the current favorite concubine. Any of that help could be from keeping her and her child alive, safe from poison, making an aphrodisiac, or recommending more creative tactics to keep the emperor's favor. Honestly, it makes things that much better knowing how each and every one of these characters have their own agency in the situation they're in, even if some of them still remain to be hidden. But really, so far, the Apothecary Diaries has been a surprising watch for me. Honestly, if you ask me why I like this anime so much, I don't think I'd be able to give you a satisfying answer. It's just one of those series that get you so invested that most episodes feel like they're 5 minutes. The characters are really carrying this right now, because Mao Mao is an absolute treat to watch. And a slower setup is fine, since they're still keeping the mystique and slowly feeding out little bits of information, like before the floodgates just open. If I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to have 24 episodes, so that's definitely enough time for them to make something special, because they've started out strong, and with a slow burn done right, it can be worth the payoff to make something great. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know how you feel about this anime so far, if it's worth the praise that it's receiving or not, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.